Welcome, 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 welcome to the Mind Fog Podcast. Yay! Welcome, 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 my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out to hang out with me. I'm very, very appreciative and grateful. Welcome, welcome. My name is Wonu Aleshe, and sometimes I do go by Amazing Soul. Before we get into today's podcast, I would like to read to you a beautiful list that I curated that I titled "Reminders to Being Human." So, number one, have fun along the journey. Show yourself compassion. Be kind to others. Being complex and being simple can hold true in the same breath. Stay curious. Hold space for pauses. Hold space for not knowing. Never underestimate the power of silence. Nature has a lot of wisdom. Pay attention, my friend. There is power in we than I. If nothing else makes sense, come back to love. Pain is our greatest teacher. And never underestimate your ripple of existence. Yes, now let's get into what we're going to talk about today. I'm pretty excited about today's topic. Let's get into it, guys. So, I want to start with something honest. You see, when most of us talk about healing, growth, or simply doing the work, we tend to talk about the breakthroughs, the realizations, the insights, the moment where something finally clicks and life starts to feel lighter. What we don't really talk about is the part that comes before it. I'm talking about the slow part, the boring part, the unsexy part. That part I like to call the regulation, right? And I think a lot of people quietly give up, not because they're incapable of change, no, but because no one prepared them for how unglamorous regulation actually is. See, for a long time, I thought something was wrong with me. That was a story in my brain. I would have this moment of clarity, a deep realization about myself, my patterns, my childhood, my nervous system. And I'll think to myself, okay, Wanu, this is it. I've got it now. And then a few days later, or even a few weeks later, I'll find myself right back in the same reaction, same tension, same loop, same emotional charge. And the voice will come in with thoughts like, why am I still here? Didn't I already heal this? Or why is this taking so long? You see, that voice nearly took me out more than the pain itself. What I didn't understand back then was this: insight is fast. Regulation, on the other hand, it's slow. And your nervous system does not update at the speed of your intellect. No, no, no. You can understand something in a moment. Your body, however, learns through repetition, safety, and time. You see, No one really says that part out loud. And I want to share a very human example with you. You see, there was a period in my life where my body was constantly on edge, even on my good days. Nothing dramatic was happening. I didn't have any crisis. There was no emergency. But my system felt braced. I would feel my jaw tighten, my breath will feel shallow, and I will always slightly be preparing for something to go wrong. It was very interesting, but if you had asked me then, Wonu, are you stressed? I would have said no, because my body had normalized that state. That was just my baseline. And the thing is, I kept trying to fix it. More awareness, more journaling, more understanding. But you see, my body didn't respond to being analyzed. No, it responded when I slowed down enough to notice it without trying to change it. And that's where things got very uncomfortable. Because regulation doesn't feel productive. It doesn't feel like progress. It doesn't give you a dopamine hit. No, most of the time, it feels like nothing. And that's the part that people don't talk about. You see, there is a fantasy that many of us carry that healing will feel like relief right away, and that regulation will feel calming immediately. And also that doing the right things should make us feel better fast. But often, when you start regulating for real, things feel worse first. And it's not because you're failing, but because you're finally feeling what your body had been holding on all along. I remember days where my only win was noticing my breath for 5 seconds, not changing it, not calming it, just noticing it. And honestly, that felt ridiculous to my mind. My mind wanted transformation now. But my body needed consistency. And those two were not aligned for me for a very long time. And I have seen over the years that this is where a lot of people quit. Because the truth is, regulation doesn't give you a story to tell. No, there's no before and after photo. No, no, no. There's no dramatic moment. This is what it looks like. You pausing instead of reacting, you feeling your feet on the floor, you genuinely letting an emotion move through you without trying to fix it. Also trying to choose rest when your mind says push. And that, my friend, is deeply unsexy. There's another part that no one really talks about. True regulation challenges your identity. If you're used to being the one who overthinks, overfunctions, overgives, overperforms, slowing down can feel like losing yourself. Your system might interpret regulation as danger at first because chaos was familiar, hypervigilance was familiar, tension was familiar, but calm, neutrality, those will feel unfamiliar at first. And unfamiliar does not equal safe to a nervous system. That's when my light bulb started to click. That was a big realization for me because I kept asking, why can't I just relax? Without realizing that my body had learned safety through tension. So when I tried to relax, my system pushed back. Not because I was broken, but because it was doing exactly what it had been trained to do for decades. Regulation is not about forcing calm. No, it's about building trust. And trust, my friend, that takes time. You see, there were days where regulation looked like letting myself cry without a narrative, no meaning, no lesson, no spiritual takeaway, just tears moving through. And there were days where regulation looked like sitting in my discomfort and not reaching for distraction. And I remember there were days where regulation looked like doing absolutely nothing that I used to tag useful. And I'm going to be very honest with you. That was the hardest part for me. Because for a long time, my worth had been tied to my output for so long. And here's something I wish someone had told me earlier on. If regulation feels slow, it is working. If it feels boring, it is working. If it feels like nothing is happening, something very important is happening. Your nervous system learns through predictable safety, not intensity, not force, and not insight alone. Let that sit, my friend. Think about it. Think about how long your system learned to survive the way it does. I mean, years, sometimes even decades. And we suddenly expect it to unwind in a few weeks. No, no, no. That expectation alone creates more dysregulation. You see, I'll share another personal moment with you. There was a time when I noticed that even small decisions, they exhausted the life out of me. Like what to eat, when to rest, whether to speak up or not. I just kept judging myself for it until I finally realized that decision fatigue wasn't a character flaw. It was a nervous system that had been on high alert for too damn long, right? So regulation for me started with reducing my choices. For example, simpler meals, simpler routines, fewer inputs. Again, unsexy, but very necessary. You see the difference? Now, this is the part of healing that doesn't sell very well in mainstream media because it asks for patience, it asks for humility, and it also asks for consistency without applause. And yet, without it, nothing else sticks. And here's what I know now from lived experience. You don't regulate by understanding your way out. No. You regulate by showing your body over and over that it is safe now. And now has to be proven repeatedly. If you're listening to this, my friend, and thinking, I'm doing the work, but nothing feels different yet. And I want you to hear this clearly from my heart to yours. This does not mean you're failing. It often means you're early. Regulation is cumulative. It stacks quietly. And one day, you will notice something small. You pause where you used to react. You breathe where you used to brace. You feel where you used to numb. That's how you know it's working. You see, not because life suddenly becomes easy. No, far from it. But because your capacity increases. You see, you can stay present with discomfort longer. You can recover faster. And most importantly, you're kinder to yourself in the middle of it. That, my friend, is true regulation. I will say this gently but honestly. If you're waiting for regulation to feel exciting, you will miss it because it feels very ordinary. And that's the point. Regulation doesn't make you special. No, it makes you stable. And stability is what allows growth to actually last. So, you see, my friend, if you're in a season where things feel slow, where nothing dramatic is happening, where your work looks invisible from the outside, I want to remind you, you are not behind. No, you're not. You're laying the foundation that most people skip. And I'll end with this. You don't rush your nervous system into safety. No, you invite it again and again and again and again, even when it feels boring, especially when it feels boring. That's the part no one talks about. And that, my friend, is the part that changes everything. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And I'm sending you love from my heart to yours. Thank you.